And I think for the most part, if people are Googling you, the path of least resistance is to go to LinkedIn. Okay. So pretty much your first impression is going to happen there unless you meet them in person, I think. I mean, I know if I'm meeting with somebody at an ICSC event or whatever, I'll always go, Google them and then hit their LinkedIn, right? Yep. And so it's basically your new first impression, right? And so if you go to someone's profile and they cropped a wedding picture from 20 years ago and there's like no background banner and they haven't posted in 90 days and you just pop it up, I call that like a skeleton profile.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. Are you guys excited? You better be, because you just stumbled on this amazing podcast and I'm together with Dave Cobb. So you stumbled on the right episode. I appreciate you tuning in and love to give a warm welcome to our guest today this morning. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, Yona. Thanks for having me, man. This is great. I'm glad I could be here.
It's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this, and you got an amazing story. You got awesome stuff going on, and I'd love to just have a small conversation, see what value we can give to our listeners. Within what you're working on currently, and one thing that really stood out, and I think the way that we got connected, just as a brief introduction, we'll give a little bio, a little background, is that a mutual friend of ours, or connection, I don't know what you call it, colleague, Logan Freeman, who's a client of ours and a longtime friend. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine.
Yeah.
Kind of tagged you in one of the posts, like, you guys got to connect and we'll see what happens with, it's going to explode.
Totally.
Right. I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but so far it's been great. I appreciate you taking the time. And I think the context was that you recently wrote a book all about LinkedIn. So it's called Tactical LinkedIn Secrets, right?
Yep, that's correct. Yeah. Yona, during COVID, I think we all needed to find stuff to do to reinvent ourselves and shift a little bit. And I had been writing a bunch of blogs on my LinkedIn. I'm a commercial real estate expert like you. I own a boutique brokerage and development firm in Orlando. We work with a lot of different retailers. Do a lot of cool deals. I've got amazing partners with me, Janet Galvin and John Helene. And I saw a trend when I rebranded from one company to another. I had an amicable business divorce with some partners, and I saw a trend coming with LinkedIn. And then I found a hidden talent that I really enjoyed writing. So, I guess it would have been December of 2019. I locked myself in my dad's vacation home in the cold mountains in North Carolina. I thought I was going to write a few chapters, and I really just put together, what I would consider a pretty solid outline. And, once COVID hit, I ended up hooking up with an initial publisher that was a hybrid. And that actually didn't work out, even though I started the process of the book. Mm-hmm. And now a couple of months ago, I actually landed a major book deal with a group called Morgan James Publishing. And the book that you see right there is actually going to be more of the library version. It's higher end, more expensive. And what we're doing with Morgan James is we're creating a black and white version. It's going to be at a lower price point, and it's going to be distributed in Barnes and Noble. And we're going to try and get it in airports and go for bestseller lists and do some cool stuff like that. So the book's really exciting. It does tie directly to commercial real estate and what I do. Commercial real estate is fundamentally a relationship business. It's how we got put together. I think a lot of people know the X's and O's on how to execute on a deal or a loan or a construction project. But what keeps that recurring income and just keeps your career advancing are your relationships that you make along the way. Right. And I think everybody should always be looking for relationship upgrades, how to get better, the new medium to where people do communicate is LinkedIn. Although I do think nothing can replace human interaction. I was in Vegas last weekend. And so, yeah, I just basically wrote a book and it's helped my commercial real estate business. And, I'm just one of those guys that enjoys sharing knowledge. So it's been a fun ride.
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. And I love what you said over here about commercial real estate. And I do the same thing. I don't know if you're aware, but we do something called the CRE LinkedIn Challenge that I do a few times a year, which essentially I bring together about 100 people or so. We're actually in the midst of one right now as we're recording this.
Cool.
And it lasts for 10 days, essentially 2 weeks, 2 weekdays. And what we do is just challenge people to post original content for 10 days straight. And for a lot of people, it's daunting, right?
Yes.
Obviously, there's so many aspects to LinkedIn in terms of the networking, in terms of just connecting to the right people, but sharing and creating your own personal brand through sharing original content. I mean, that's paramount to everything, in my opinion. And I just challenge people to do that in an accountability group of, like I said, a bunch of people together. And it's taken off. It's really an incredible thing.
That's cool. I've seen that before. I'd love to get in on the next one too.
Yeah, I try to do it every few months, like 3-4 times a year. And it's just amazing. It's basically you're immersed, and anyone who's listening to this that knows what has been involved in it knows exactly what I'm talking about. You just get totally sucked into this for 2 weeks straight and just can't get off LinkedIn, which is incredible. And the amazing thing is, like going back to what you said, it's all about the relationships, right? One thing is about teaching you or encouraging you and learning about how to post, what to post, when to post, how to engage with other people's content. But the second part of it, which goes part and parcel, is the networking and meeting people and creating these, great relationships with other people in the commercial real estate industry across the country who I love seeing, like literally partnerships and deals happen within these groups, within these challenges that I do. It's unbelievable.
That's got to be really cool. You would imagine it would. And I would think that a lot of the people that you bring in there that initially might be intimidated by creating content for 10 days in a row, once they get in that flow, they realize that it's really not that difficult. Right. I mean, we're creating content right now. You're recording this Zoom call. You're in New York. I'm in Florida. We can still have still pictures that we can post. We can have just short video snippets that we can post. Right. Some of the most successful posts don't take a lot of time. All you need to do is just come up with, especially if you like catch a trend, like one of my posts that just blew up was, when ICSC changed their logo. I just said, hey, do you like this? Is it terrible? Is it great? And, so many people interacted with that. And, Absolutely. And it took me literally, as soon as I saw it just took me 10 minutes, so, just a little lesson from my book that I talk about that kind of relates, to your CRE challenge, which I think is really neat, by the way. That's really cool. Is one, the cadence is so important. Right. You have to post at least a couple of times a week, and right. people get used to seeing you and hearing about you and stuff like that. And then the other thing that I mentioned that I kind of give, kind of an analogy on is I think you have to look at your posts the same way that you would look at genres on like TV or Netflix or whatever. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so you have to view it as, let's just say that if you take like a picture of me and you out with a group at ICSC out at a Vegas, nightclub or at the show, it's a big group of people having fun. That's almost like reality television, right? That it's cool. It's going to get a lot of interaction. It's going to get a lot of likes and this and that. But then when you sit down and you write a 700-word blog or a 2,000-word blog or whatever you want to do, that's more of like a documentary. Okay. You're not going to get the thousands and thousands of views and the thousands and thousands of likes per se. You might only get a couple hundred reads, but those are people that are one, they're probably pretty smart because, and they probably care about their industry, right? Because they took the time out of their day to read your blog. And then when somebody takes 8 minutes out of their day, you can kind of bet your ass they're going to remember you, right? Especially if it was a well-written blog. And, then you've got the videos that can be just as informative, especially if it's like a good interview. One of the things that I like to do is I like to go and take news articles and I'll pull it up on my computer where I have the PDF drawboard and I can highlight and make annotations. People really like that because instead of just sharing the article, you make it personalized. Then the last category you have are, when you go and you do stuff that's self-promotional, or you're promoting a real estate site or whatever, which we all need to do. We're all in business, but those are your commercials,
Right.
you can't inundate people with commercials or nobody's going to want to watch that channel.
Right.
So to get people to really look at like whatever you're trying to promote, whether it's, generating business leads, establishing new accounts, marketing a real estate site, marketing a service, you have to mix in that quality content with your commercials, because those are really what they are. Those are your commercials.
I love that. That's incredible analogies. You're just defining what that is. And I think you're absolutely right. When you see people just posting the commercials all the time, it's like, you don't watch that channel, right? You're going to tune that out, right?
Exactly. And I would say in that category of commercials too, is people that just post stuff where they brag about stuff they've done, they've won awards. Listen, that's all good. I think you should let people know if you've accomplished something, but at the same time, you want to, for every 4 times you help them, then you throw in something like that,
Exactly.
and then everybody's okay with it. That's totally fine. But if you're just doing self-promotional and commercials all the time, people are going to tune out.
Exactly. And you see that. You see from the reality, obviously, when you do have like this big congratulatory, an award or whatever it is, it usually gets a lot of engagements, right? Especially you have like a new job or, these type of things.
Right.
I think LinkedIn promotes those. I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but I think there's something built into the algorithm or the people running those algorithms that are promoting those more than other posts manually, perhaps. But again, to your point, it's really, that doesn't create the relationship. That doesn't help engender that communication. And like you said, the person taking their time out to read that blog or to watch that even 1 minute or 2 minute or 5 minute video, you know for sure that they're going to be paying attention. And that's a great way to just strike up a conversation. And that's how I always love to, and I'm sure you're very good at this as well, is just strike up those conversations in the direct messages, right? If someone comments on your post or someone responds to your comment, that's a great window of like, hey, thanks for, I like what you said about my, my post or whatever. And you start a conversation. You never know where that's going to lead.
Yep, absolutely. And I mean, to kind of expand on that, I don't know what you've been seeing, and I don't have any hard stats to back this up other than my own personal experience. But it feels like I get such better response off of my LinkedIn InMails than I do off of traditional email now. It's like people are playing defense on their inbox, on their email. And I feel like people have, LinkedIn, a lot of times it almost corrals you. I have my notifications turned off because I just can't be that ding, 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 ding all day. But LinkedIn pushes you to keep your notifications on. Right. And I think people have their email notifications turned off on a lot of times, but on their LinkedIn InMail, it pops up. And you do get solicited on it, but not nearly as much as on your email.
Yeah. And obviously the solicitation happens in LinkedIn, and I'm sure everyone can relate to that. You can delete those. You know what I'm saying? You can just feed through that probably much easier than your email, but you're right. I respond to my email, to LinkedIn messages much faster than I will to email. Email has become like mail, like traditional mail, to a certain extent, where it's like, I can literally be, on my phone or have my, LinkedIn or have, everything computer open the whole day. And I have emails from a week ago I haven't responded to, That's just,
you have your focused inbox, your regular inbox, your junk email. It's just so much to sift through that it's really gone to, I think, a combination of, depending on personal, it's like your Instagram messaging, then your LinkedIn messaging. And then a lot of it, I know I've been doing a lot of business through text. Especially if it's crunch time and it's an important deal. Most of my clients like it that way. We can knock stuff out, very quickly or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to change gears a little bit here and just ask you a little bit about your business, because obviously you're a commercial real estate broker. You've been in the brokerage space for many years. You've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of trends happening, like you said, and especially in the retail space, which is with the space that you're in. And this is something we haven't spoken about a lot. We have had a few people in episodes way back when in the pub, but recently haven't spoken enough about what's happening right now, what you are seeing personally. Obviously, you're in Florida, so it's much more open than many other markets, perhaps.
Yep.
But what are you seeing in terms of the actual market? Any trends or anything like that?
Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things going on right now. Obviously, coming out of this pandemic, it's very novel times, no pun intended, and so one of the things that's going on right now in Florida that's very interesting is with construction and labor, there's not a lot of new development going on, but there is almost no vacancy compared to, where it was historically. I think Orlando's around like 4% or something like that. So it's a very interesting time because it's a landlord friendly market. A lot of tenants want to expand, but at the same time, they're still having a hard time getting the workforce in place. And so this next year to me is going to be very interesting. One of the things that we've seen a lot of, especially here, is the drive-through in pad deals are just absolutely exploding.
Yeah.
We've seen, we've also seen a lot of groups like you're seeing like Chipotle roll out drive-throughs. One of our really good clients that I'm a customer of all the time is Huey Magoo's Chicken Tenders. You don't have them in your neck of the woods, but you will. They're a Chick-fil-A competitor. They're selling like hotcakes all up and down the East Coast right now. And people's habits, whether it's using Uber Eats or going through the drive-through, it just seems like they've really fundamentally shifted. At least for now, in a lot of these restaurants, like the drive-through guys are actually doing less dining space and more drive-throughs. And you're going to see even more of that because one of the other interesting things that's going on right now in retail is you're seeing a lot of the banks downsize and consolidate. And Truist, SunTrust and BB&T, they merged and they just recently announced,
that's huge.
160 bank branches coming back onto the market. And, we're taking a look at it with some groups and stuff like that. But it's a very, very interesting dynamic right now. I mean, think about 160 pads.
Right.
And this goes all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, probably about like maybe a handful in Kentucky, a bunch in Florida, a bunch in Georgia, right, which is where they were mainly concentrated. But you've got very interesting structures. Some can be reused and some have to be knocked down. But one thing that the bank real estate people did over the last 15 or 20 years is they picked out some very good spots.
Yeah.
So we know what's going on now is over the next year and a half, there's going to be, and there's other bank consolidation going on too with PNC and some of the others. But just with Truist alone, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pads that are coming back that are going to be amazing market penetration opportunities for a lot of different retailers and restaurants. And one of the interesting things we've seen in Florida is a lot of these banks actually get converted to cannabis dispensaries.
Interesting.
And the reason that is one, they have the drive-through. Our Florida state law requires that because it's a medical facility, that patients have ease of pickup. So there's a drive-through. There's a lot of cash in that business too. So they've got the security apparatuses in place, so people can't rob banks and stuff. And then also there's vaults there to store, what are, basically, sensitive substances that they don't want people to be able to get their hands on. So you got the vault, the security, and the drive-through. So you're seeing some of these banks being repurposed to cannabis dispensaries. So
that's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting times. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the pad world, but we're also seeing a lot of movement in the grocery world as well down here.
Well, I think it all comes back to, like you said, it's the convenience that people have been used to, especially with the Uber Eats, with the drive-thrus, with wanting delivery. And if you are not evolving with that as a retailer, then you're going to be left behind. I mean, it's simple that's the way the trend is going. And will it go back? Will there still be, in person? Will there still be, in restaurant eating and all that kind of stuff? Sure. I'm sure there will be. Right. But the shift is certain. And will it go back? Meaning the shift in terms of the percentage of how much people are eating from home or taking out and things like that. It's definitely gone. And I don't think it's going back. It may go back a little bit, but I don't think it's going to shift that much.
I agree. And one of the things that's interesting is it's all really, even the drive-throughs are changing and shifting to more app-based pickup windows, right? Mm-hmm. So it's less of an impulse buy. You're going to buy it, when it's going to be ready. So it doesn't have all the stacking out to the streets. Everybody just goes and gets their stuff, whether you're an Uber Eats driver or a regular customer. And, the same way that this technology is changing the banking industry, that's the reason they're downsizing so much is, hell, I could grab a check right now, shoot it and deposit it. Mobile banking is, you can check everything right there. You don't have to go into the bank as much. And that's also creating a downsize in the restaurants as well. It's just this pandemic has just accelerated technology in an amazing way. And it's 100% affecting commercial real estate, the technology of it.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that up in terms of the technology, because commercial real estate is still, in general, is an industry that is still a little bit old in terms of evolving into using technology.
I would use the word myopic.
Yeah, I was looking for a good word. But,
not everybody is short-sighted, but I think the reason that is because we are traditionally a tenured-based, relationship-driven business. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that there's an older generation that has just more, we don't even use the word Rolodex anymore. My daughter, my 14-year-old daughter asked me what a Rolodex was. I thought that was hilarious. But we basically build up our contact list or our Rolodex of people, and that takes a while. And then, it takes a little while to get past, as at least as a broker or a salesperson, it takes a little while to get past that, initial, kind of starvation period. And then once you make it through that, you start making the connections and you learn the ropes, but that all takes some time. And right. A lot of the people that I think that wield the most influence in commercial real estate do tend to be a little bit older. Now, mm-hmm. I think that COVID probably disrupted that to some extent.
Yep.
And now I feel like those people that do have that influence, if they want to stay in business, they need to think about the next generation of people, the next younger group of people that they're going to hire, or that they could even someday turn their company over to. Mm-hmm. So they need to embrace, technology and LinkedIn and all that as well, or I really do think they'll get left behind.
Yeah. And there are so many new technologies coming out just within the, customer centric side of things in terms of, certain lending apps and things like that, where you have, I don't know if you're familiar with Iris Lodowitz from Eastern Union, who was a guest on this podcast in the early days. He founded Eastern Union, one of the biggest mortgage brokers in the country. And wow. he just switched. He just left that and started a new company, which is called G-Parency, like GP, a transparency combination of that. And it's a technology-based company that is basically cutting out mortgage brokers and allowing you as the customer to go directly to the bank or several, not a bank, but many banks through this app. And and I think a lot of these applications that are creating new opportunities to make the process, the buying process for commercial real estate so much more streamlined. You have simple stuff like DocuSign and these type of things where you can be, on the other side of the country. You don't need to sit down at a closing. You don't need to get everyone together at a closing table. These things are really helping to just push the industry much at a faster pace. And the new generation is definitely going to make even bigger changes. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. I gave a presentation in Austin, Texas, and we're also common friends with Stacey Mooney. She's a good friend of mine too. I know we were in a chat room in one of the same chat room presentations a while back too, when she did the virtual thing. Right. And I gave a presentation there in, do you know Tyler Carlson with Resquared?
I know of him. Yes.
Yeah, he would be a good guy for you to get on your podcast too, by the way. Awesome guy. And at the presentation, I got up with my social marketing partner. We're going to do like some consulting and speaking and stuff like that. And I kind of told him what I think the biggest mistake on LinkedIn is, and I was telling the whole crowd, was having a skeleton profile, which I define a skeleton profile is, because listen, the new first impression is probably going to happen online at this point. You know what I mean?
100%.
So one of the things I do when I present, and I'm actually giving a presentation to some CEOs tomorrow in Charlotte, it's a speakers bureau called Vistage, is I have the room get up and Google themselves. Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, if you want to do it real quick, do you have your phone in front of you?
Yeah, I literally, I do this all the time. And I was going to post about this tomorrow on LinkedIn. That was my post tomorrow about Googling yourself.
Yeah. So if you Google
this.
yourself, and I would bet that if you Google yourself and you put, Yona Weiss, and then just something else like your company or whatever you're affiliated with on Google, I guarantee you in the top 3, your LinkedIn's going to pop up.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And it's the number 2. Is where, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's number 2. I know. It's
number 2.
It's number 2.
It's always in the top 3. And a lot of times it's number 1. And I think for the most part, if people are Googling you, the path of least resistance is to go to LinkedIn. Okay. So pretty much your first impression is going to happen there unless you meet them in person. I think. I mean, I know if I'm meeting with somebody at an ICSC event or whatever, I'll always go, Google them and then hit their LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
And so it's basically your new first impression, right? And so if you go to someone's profile and they cropped a wedding picture from 20 years ago and there's like no background banner and they haven't posted in 90 days and you just pop it up, I call that like a skeleton profile. Mm-hmm. Okay. I really think it would be better to just have no LinkedIn than to have a skeleton profile. You know what I mean? And because what it does is it just shows that you just kind of half-assed it a little bit, And the thing is it's such an unforced error because it's a very easy fix. I mean, right. I think any of us can use someone in graphic design to help us create a banner. I think if we're all in the professional world, we should have a headshot.
Yes.
If you want to make it really nice, I don't know if you knew about this, but they have an introduction feature where you can give like a little 30-second pitch video. Right. I've got that on mine, and then you can utilize the featured section, have a ghostwriter write a blog for you, or take a quick video, or put a good post up there, and then just write a quick bio. I mean, all this can be done in less than an hour, and it could be the difference in like a dream relationship of yours being like, oh wow, good profile, I want to meet them, or like, I don't know, I'm going to click to the next profile. I call it the click buy or the click buy. It's the click buy is where they buy your stuff, BUY, and the click buy is where they're like, bye bye baby, and you never see them again, And so I think that when you have a skeleton profile, it just creates a bad first impression. And then Tyler was at the presentation when I talked about this, and I thought this was really cool because I then saw him later at a different conference for our Site Source Broker Network, and he told me that now what he does is anybody who submits him a resume, if he goes and he looks at their LinkedIn and it's a skeleton profile, he automatically throws it in the trash.
There you go. It's real.
So,
yeah.
I think it really is. It's the first impression now. Now, now sometimes you can't always tie it to results because we are a service-based industry. We're not B2C. It's not like we can do pay per click and conversions and all that. But as a part of your overall networking arsenal, I just think you've got to have it at this point if you want to be successful in commercial real estate.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you and I are so aligned on this, so much so that if anyone wants to go to yonaweiss.com, and really that's the only reason why LinkedIn is not number 1 is because, well, actually there's another reason is because my company, Madison Specs, actually pays for Google ads with my name. So Yona Weiss from MadisonSpecs.com is actually the first result usually because a paid ad. Cool. I don't know why they do that, but the third result is Yona Weiss or something like that. Anyways, you go to YonaWeiss.com, I actually have a free tool you can download to optimize your LinkedIn profile, talking about these exact things that Dave was just discussing. And we'll make sure to put a link to your book in the show notes as well. We'd love to.
That'd be great.
To promote
if you could put a link to my personal website, that would be great too. It's davecobb33.com. And that's kind of another cool thing. Like, when I first got into this, my social marketing partner said, hey, you really should have your own personally branded website. Mm-hmm. Now, and you're very active and you're a content creator, not a consumer as well. But I think if somebody does really want to go out and be a creator and be a leader, a personally branded website's a great way to go. It doesn't need to be anything too intricate. It can just basically be, a landing page with information about you and stuff. And then if you really want to take it to the next level, you can actually put a tracking pixel in there and retarget people and do all that. But the personally branded website's a pretty neat thing as well. It's a good way to, if you're more multifaceted than just your company and you want to show like, I do philanthropy stuff and I do some stuff on some board stuff for my great grandfather's organization, and I have Archon, and I'm a writer, so I want to showcase kind of all of those things on my personal website. Right. So I think it's a great tool.
Awesome. Amazing. So Dave, I want to transition now to what we call the final four. These are 4 questions that we ask all our guests. First question for you is, what is the worst job that you ever had?
Okay. So in between my freshman year of college and my sophomore year of college, I was back in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, where I grew up, and I pretty much needed to do something. So I got a job as a food runner. I completely respect anybody who works in the restaurant industry as a server or a food runner. I wouldn't say it was the worst job. It was just I had some pretty interesting, funny moments there. It was definitely a great learning experience. Like I said, I respect the hell out of all servers, especially the ones that are working now. But I had a giant tray of escargot, and it was like a super crowded restaurant, and I tripped, and snails just went everywhere in front of like everybody. Oh, man. So I wasn't that good at carrying that stuff. And it was just, it was definitely a grueling job. And, I just respect the hell out of anybody who's in the service industry. So that was a good learning experience for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not something you want to go back to. That's for sure.
Right.
Second question, what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
Okay, I have more of an author that has, and I'll give a couple of his books. Are you familiar with Robert Greene?
I am not. I don't think so.
He originally wrote the 48 Laws of Power. Some people think that book is kind of like Machiavellian a little bit and stuff, but what it does is it really teaches you how to navigate certain circumstances where people might not have your best interests at heart. And so that book was very eye-opening to me, because it does kind of show you that, parts of the business world can be pretty cutthroat, and it kind of walks you through those scenarios. And he also wrote a book called The Laws of Human Nature. Okay. I've used that a lot. It helps you, really give yourself a pretty ruthless self-analysis on how you handle, all different situations. It'll run you through, everything from what a narcissist is to definitions of grandiosity. And then his book Mastery, which was more of a book for people that want to become creatives. I keep these right here. This is the Laws of Human Nature. He's got a little concise version of it, which is very cool.
Nice.
And Mastery basically teaches you, he goes back and shows masters, whether it's Leonardo da Vinci or everybody from Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin, all the way up to, Marie Curie, and what these people did to accomplish these giant breakthroughs, to write that amazing novel, Einstein creating the theory of relativity. And it's really neat, because what he talks about is a lot of people think that natural intelligence and genius has to do with a lot of what happens with people that are hyper successful. Really what it is it's more about persistence. And it's like the same way that an athlete loves to train. Like it's like writing a book. The more that you go after it from a persistent standpoint and do it strategically, get the right mentors, and it just runs you through all those dynamics of it. It was such a cool process. And I don't think without him that I would have been able to write a 270-page book.
Wow. That's awesome. No, I'm so glad you brought that up. It sounds like incredible topics, and probably go deep into that rabbit hole.
Yeah, check out. We could have a whole nother podcast on Robert Greene. Trust me. But you should definitely check out his books. They're great. Okay,
I appreciate that. We'll make sure to put those in the show notes as well for anyone who wants to check that out. And third question, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
I've been procrastinating on this, and it's something I'm going to try and do next year. I really want to learn to play the piano. And I don't know why that instrument, it just helps me when I write. It calms me down. Mm-hmm. I kind of realized that was my inclination, and it kind of helps me get in the zone. And so I listen a lot. So I'm a consumer of it, but I want to try to become a creator, kind of like, how a lot of people should do on LinkedIn.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. That's awesome. And similarly, it takes a lot of persistence. and a lot of training to get good at it. But absolutely, that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good for you. We'll check back in a year and see where you're at.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, yeah, man. Is any other questions?
We got the fourth and final question here is going to be: what does success mean to you?
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think that too many people gauge their success on their bank account and how much money they make. And I think it's, listen, we all want nice things. We all want to provide a nice life for our families. And, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with making a lot of money. I think it's great. And, I'm proud of people around me that do that. I think it's good. But I think if you make that your one and only, I would say, goal, or that's what you're constantly chasing, there's always going to be somebody that makes more, and there's never really going to be enough. Yep. So my definition of success, and I'm still trying to get there, is once I make it to a point, where I'm financially comfortable, but then I can also go give back and share knowledge, which is really what I'm embarking on now. The proceeds from my book are going to go towards a nonprofit I'm starting. I want to teach, young athletes of color, writing and social marketing. And so, my idea of success is to give back and teach and educate and, just uplift all the boats around you. And,
there you go.
That would kind of be what I would say. So
that's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I'm sure we already mentioned it earlier, but just to round it out, where can our listeners find you, or what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can go to davecobb33.com, or have any of them feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn and mail. We also offer some consulting services. We could do profile analysis for them, and I'd be happy to. I can also send them my speaking kit. And yeah, I'd love to help any way I can with LinkedIn, especially drill down in commercial real estate, because I think our industry really needs it.
Amazing. Well, and you're absolutely right. I think one of the reasons why I started that 10-day challenge specifically for commercial real estate industry is I came across the social selling index, and it shows you your percentile. And I don't really know how real that is or what that is. I've reached out to people on work at LinkedIn trying to figure out how real that is, what's it based on, et cetera, because mine never moved. I always stayed, no matter how much time I spend, what I did on LinkedIn. Nevertheless, I saw that it shows you the average, mine was 70, 80, whatever it was, right? Percentile. And it says the average person in the commercial real estate industry was a 22nd percentile compared to everyone in the whole, LinkedIn ecosystem. And so that just showed me that the majority of people who are in the commercial real estate industry are just not utilizing LinkedIn. And, and like you, I've kind of put as one of my goals just to give back and show people and teach people how to do it.
Yeah. You're doing a great job with it, man. I really like your stuff.
I appreciate that. And Dave, I appreciate you taking the time out today and spending time with us.
Yeah, this has been great, Yona. Thanks so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, remember, until next time, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.